Says I'm live. I think one of the biggest fears about doing these lives is sit here and you yammer to yourself and you're not really live. um, yeah. So I'm going back to my roots here. When I first started this journey, I just made this YouTube channel back in, I believe April 2023. So, I mean, I've had YouTube for a long time, obviously, because I watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. April. Feedback. Sorry about that. Rookie moment. Turn down this shit. And what was I saying? Yeah. And I did it so that obviously I can have a platform to speak out on shit. So when I started doing this on this channel, I started doing what they call therapy hour, and it's just so I could talk to a wall. It's like 6 a.m, for some of you folks, and that's the way I like it, because I'm not here for nobody but myself. But if you want to join me and join the journey or watch it on a replay, then so be it. But I was talking to a friend, and he about prior incidents. I'm not delving into them, but he was talking about change and how people can change. But usually that term is associated with good change, right? Like, hey, I can change. And usually when people say that, they are, they do it for the better. But, when people change, what's up, Phil? How you doing, brother? When people change, they can also change for the worse, right? And that's the reason I have the thumbnail there. It was a pretty satirical moment on South Park with Saddam Hussein. Had a relationship with the devil, very toxic, narcissistic relationship. He's being basically verbally abused and whatnot, and saying, hey, I could change, just the same narcissistic repeated loophole. But either way, how does this tie to games? Well, I was watching a video. I only got about 4 minutes into it, and I was like, you know what? This will be a great opportunity to do a cool reaction. So it's lengthy, but whatever. You know how I do. But I got up to about 4 minutes in, and it tied to our conversation. And this one was called The Most Profound Moment in the History of Animated Film. So we're going to be on games and anime. Hey, I appreciate that feedback. That's great to hear. Thank you for that feedback. That makes me feel good. I appreciate it. So let me click. Let's see here. Present. Share screen. I'm rookie still. Share. All right, let's see if this plays.
Who follows my channel that I have a passion for things that are drenched in philosophical and psychological depth. I hope
Can y'all hear this?
Identifying the most profound works in every medium, I can provide my viewers with a transformative education. I want to make you wake up tomorrow morning and have you look at the world in a permanently different way, because that is the mark of true education. Sure, that transformation can sometimes be terrifying, but it is something we must do in order to satisfy our evolutionary instincts. Today, I will be looking outside of my normal realm of expertise, going from the medium of gaming into the medium of animation. A field that is often derided as lesser than that of live action, a cartoonish world of bright colors meant to stimulate the brains of children. In response to those who hold that needless prejudice, I shall present a moment that I believe eclipses most profound moments that can be found in live action film. That moment can be found in the Japanese anime franchise known as Ghost in the Shell. I challenge any of our
Anybody watch Ghost in the Shell? That's a real deep anime.
Supposed cultural betters with a prejudice against animation to watch either the Ghost in the Shell movies or the TV shows and then proclaim that it's just a cartoon. The entire franchise is one long meditation on the nature of human consciousness. What makes human.
And what's crazy is about 20 years ago, I would tell you to go fly a kite. You know, this type of stuff is not possible. But we're getting if I'm not mean, like 10 years ago, if I heard myself saying what I'm saying now, I would think I'm pretty fringe. But we're getting close. We're getting close to this stuff. It's getting freaky. And it's so fast because I was just looking at black and white photos of my grandmother's father. You know, she's still alive. And, you know, he's riding horses and it's, you know, black and white. And here we are, you know, with AI taking over.
Beings special compared to other animate beings? Is there anything that really differentiates us from animals or cyborgs?
Awesome. Yeah, it
or
is one of the top five.
Allow me to present some meditations on this question,
Not top five,
made
top
not
10,
only by Ghost in
like,
the Shell,
has to be.
but by the philosophers that the franchise references. Before I begin, I wish to address those of you who have watched my original video on the first Ghost in the Shell movie. If you wish, you can skip to this point in the video. That way, you don't have to wait longer to find out what I believe is the most profound moment in the history of animation. However, if you have not seen that original video, I strongly recommend you pay attention for the next few minutes. I am sure that at some point during your secondary or post-secondary education, you have learnt of the phrase, "I think, therefore I am."
And I guess that's key. You know, he says you're post or secondary. A lot of people just don't learn this in high school. So you usually got to take philosophy class, or if you were one of the lucky ones that your parents taught you it's okay to read a book, you know. Oh, yeah, man. The Animatrix is on a whole different level. That's good stuff too. Those mini stories. So he's getting to the, what is it, called it Proxim? I think, therefore I am, which is pretty much one of those catalysts of saying that we know we are alive because you can consciously go, I am alive, you know. He's going to deep dive into this.
Arguably the most famous of philosophical maxims. The original author of this phrase, René Descartes, was aware of the limitations of human perception. How could we be certain that the world we see before us isn't some illusion brought on by a malevolent force, be it a demon or something like the Matrix? We never can be. In the search of an irrefutable reality, Descartes crafted his maxim. If all else is an illusion, at least Descartes could be certain that he existed, because he could think. For hundreds of years, and even arguably to this day, this maxim is held to be self-evident, to be the base of all philosophy.
Phil, man, great minds, man. Look at you. He said it.
Philosophy. What a lot of people don't know is that there were philosophers providing challenges to Descartes' maxim. Most notably, the German philosopher Friedrich.
And I don't mind counter arguments because that's the whole point, right? To, you know, nothing is, you know, grounded. I mean, you got some that are like a little outlandish, like we know what plastic is made of, and you come countering saying it's not made of whatever the hell we just said it's made of. That's a little weird. But when you come to things that aren't truly absolute like this, you know, counter arguments can be okay.
Friedrich Nietzsche. In Nietzsche's book, Beyond Good and Evil, he challenges Descartes' notion of I.
A lot of the younger folks
I think, therefore I am. Unlike Descartes, Nietzsche is not so certain that the I, or in other words, the ego, exists.
From whence did I get the notion of thinking? What gives me the right to speak of an ego? I guess that's you. And even of an ego as cause, and finally of an ego as cause of thought. Beyond Good and Evil, paragraph 16. And this guy is countering with the fact of, you know, who's I?
If we have the capacity to think, who or what gave that capacity to us? How do we know that capacity is truly ours and that the thoughts we create are truly our own? If you're having a
Damn.
hard
They keep breaking you.
time understanding this, think of it this way. When you get the idea to take revenge on somebody who wronged you, did you have that idea?
Mm.
Or did that idea have you?
That that's a tough one. I would look. I mean, you got to be accountable for your own actions and stuff, but at the same time, does fringe, you know, ideology or whatever, can that actually just take a hold of you? Like, are you the one responsible, or is it responsible?
In other words, you did not create the idea for revenge. Rather, the idea came to you. It is for reasons like these that Nietzsche criticized
That's right here.
Descartes' notion of I
You said
and
it.
thus fostered doubt in this supposedly infallible maxim. To make the maxim more accurate, Nietzsche figured we should remove the notion of I
Think, therefore am. Damn.
from I think, therefore I am, and instead assume that something is thinking. Now, I bring
So something is thinking, but what?
all of this up because we see this philosophical dilemma acted out in the first Ghost in the Shell movie. The main character, Motoko Kusanagi, is a cyborg suffering an identity crisis. Every part of her, with the exception of her brain, is artificial. The original owner of the brain, at least in regards to the first film, is unknown. With the lack of a personality, with the lack of memories to define her individuality, we see Motoko struggle to find her true identity. Who was she before she became a cyborg? Did she even exist at all? Does she exist now? When the character of Bato witnesses Motoko's struggle with her notion of self, he tangentially invokes Descartes' maxim. Isn't it enough that she has the ability to think? Therefore, she is? Though Bato never received
So that's where it's going to get really wishy-washy. When is it that if we get into quantum computers, you know, for commercial use, and we have these AIs going, and it's 30 years from now, if an AI actually somehow becomes self-aware, do we give it that thumbs up and say, yes, it is self-aware, now it's considered life and life has rights? Does this computer have a right to life? If it's truly is self-aware, or is it never self-aware because we're God and we created it and it can never be truly self-aware?
A direct response, the creators of the film imply the response throughout the story. The most notable example is with the scene on the boat. While Bato and Motoko are philosophizing with each other, they both hear a voice speak up inside their cyber brains. The voice sounds like Motoko's. When Bato asks whether or not Motoko was the one that spoke, she remains silent. The film cuts to the next scene before.
Yeah, that is. And what's wilder is when we let them go on their own, or you ask them like these proxies of what's your solution to world peace or something like that. You know, I know they made animes and movies on this, but there have been other instances where the AI got real dark, you know, like removing humans or whatnot. And what was one of my favorite short horrors? What was the movie called? I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream. I'll let you guys check that one out. That one's freaky. What's up, big? How you doing, brother? I just think we need to simply pose queries for it to try to help solve, and then keep on purging its prior compiling and let it start. I think you're right. I think there needs to be a cap and start over, because yeah, I agree. Just like that in the I was talking about it before in the movie Dune. They don't have AI because the AI got so freaking smart. They had a war with it. So in Dune, You only see like old school mechanics. Every computer is a supercomputer. It's a human. All those alien species that you see in the movie are humans that evolved into something else, but they don't do nobody in that universe of Dune uses a computer. There's no computers.
Or we can get
for that reason.
a definitive answer. What this scene is trying to convey relates back to Nietzsche's criticism of Descartes. Is it I who thinks, or is something else thinking? Was it Motoko that spoke, or did something else speak? Did she think up the phrase, or did something else? The notion of I, or the ego, is challenged in other parts of the film. Notably with The Garbage Man, his memories were implanted into his augmented brain. His notion of self, therefore, is completely false. It's
interesting about that picture. There was when I took psychology, I showed off circling back, humans make the worst witnesses because your perception is your reality. What you perceive, what you take in, what your brain takes in is reality. But the problem with that is it's not always necessarily the truth. Example, you saw a screen of 5 people, in a movie theater, but the other person saw 10, and just because you weren't paying attention. So your reality is you saw 5, when in truth there was 10. So reality is not always, your reality is not always necessarily the facts and truths. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that picture. They create this group of psychologists. They created false memories in people by showing them Photoshop images of their childhood in a hot air balloon. And they asked them about it. It's like, hey, do you remember this event? And everyone, they're like, yeah, I remember this really well. I was with my mama, and they came up with all these cockamamie stories, but it was all false memory. They never been in a hot air balloon in a day in their life. And that's what the brain can do. Your brain fills in these gaps if you seriously thought it was the truth. That's why we make the worst witnesses. So that's why body cameras and everything else is really important. And that picture he's seeing may not necessarily be the truth. It could be doctored.
Terror this man feels.
Absolutely. And after doing law enforcement, it's just how it is. There was another video. Now that I'm going to say it, you're not going to fall for it. But there's a video where they had a group of people bouncing the ball or whatever to each other. And they say, count the times that you see the ball bouncing. So you count the ball. And then at the end of the video, they say, did you see the gorilla guy in the monkey suit? And you're like, what? And you play it back. And then while the person you were counting, focus on that ball, the guy in a gorilla suit walks by, waves at you. And a lot of people didn't catch it. Like it was a magic trick.
Upon realizing this fact.
And getting even deeper, that's how that Batman movie theater shooting occurred. And that's when I actually started getting into it, because the guy that did that, he had a government funding for, I forgot the terminology, but it was the science funding from the government, where he delved into some with the eyes and the brain. It was wild, but it messed with psyops and shit like that. And he had a government funding for it. It was crazy. But the reason why people didn't pay attention was because they were focused on the movie scene, and he came in dressing up like a person from the theater. So they were just hyper focused, looking at, not paying attention, while everyone else is just getting shot up.
Is mirrored in the audience, and no wonder.
The whole Man in Black
thing. The human brain can be
stand there and it's not
if its
noticed.
Mechanisms can eventually be replicated or manipulated, maybe our notion of self can be replicated, manipulated, or worse, obliterated. Worst of all, if our egos can be obliterated by technology, what does that say about the human notion of a soul? Maybe there is no soul, let alone one that makes human beings special. Maybe there is no ghost in the shell. This was the terrifying element that I referenced towards the beginning of this video. When our preconceptions are challenged, it leaves us in a state of existential limbo, brooding, spinning, resentful, and unsure of where to go. Billions of people
That's why we have
around the
religions.
world live and die by a belief in the soul, in an ego that transcends the body after death. If that's not true, if we're not actually special and our egos are illusions that can be manipulated by technology, then there might be no purpose or meaning to our consciousness and all the suffering it brings. Luckily, Ghost in the Shell offers two potential solutions to this existential dilemma. One solution that we see at the end of the first film is a merging of body and mind with machines. Doing this will elevate our consciousness to such enormous heights that we can become godlike.
Anybody ever see the anime Gantz? It kind of delves onto that near the end. Gantz, the manga gets pretty crazy at the end.
This is why when Motoko's consciousness merges with that of the puppet master at the end of the first film, she sees an angel descend from above. Her mind is rising to a level of greatness that can only be described as heavenly, and represented using an imperfect human concept like an angel. It's a beautifully poetic notion to evolve beyond our primordial pasts and become immortal. It addresses the pain of existential angst. To illustrate such an event and also make it somewhat believable, it might cause some to declare Motoko's transcendence as a profound moment, maybe even the most profound moment, at least in the history of animated film. It's hard to argue against such a declaration, given the fact that Ghost in the Shell is the most celebrated film in the realm of Japanese animation, with the possible exception of Akira. However, I will boldly challenge this declaration. While this moment is undeniably profound, I think there is one that is slightly more profound. It deals with a potential second solution to this problem of existential angst, where instead of becoming like a god, one goes in the exact opposite direction. This moment can be found in the film's sequel, Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence. The story of Ghost in the Shell 2 takes place 3 years after the events of the first film. Motoko Kusanagi has long since disappeared into the net after having merged with the Puppet Master. This time around, the story centers on the aforementioned Bato and his partner Togusa. They are investigating a series of possible murders carried out by sex dolls against their owners. The theory is that somebody is implanting replicated dolls and programming that consciousness to kill. During their investigation into who this programmer might be, Bato and Togusa arrive at a mansion owned by somebody named Kim, an ex-soldier turned hacker who potentially has ties to the manufacturer of the sex dolls. After searching the mansion, they come across a human-sized, digitally augmented marionette laying lifeless in a chair. Convinced that this marionette isn't so lifeless, Bato turns the chair over and addresses the marionette as Kim. Kim then begins to speak. When Bato and Togusa ask Kim why he chooses to live in a motionless marionette, he responds by condemning humanity's inherent imperfection, man's knowledge, reality. Both are corrupted for various reasons, be it bias or plain irrationality. How often do we witness our fellow man ignoring or willfully obscuring reality in order to protect their emotions? Kim figures that the only way a human can transcend these imperfections is to either become a god via augmentation of the human body, or to go in the opposite direction. To Kim, that opposite direction involves becoming a doll. By separating the mind from the body, the mind's perception of reality won't be corrupted by the body's imperfection. Kim's mind, like Motoko's mind, exists in the virtual world, in the net, only returning to the body when necessary. When the mind is absent from the body, that body becomes more or less that of a doll. This notion of separating the body from the mind in order to achieve true enlightenment is typical of Eastern religion, specifically Buddhism. The aim of the Buddhist is to reject the illusion of the material world in order to achieve nirvana. For the sake of this discussion, nirvana can also be understood as true reality. The creators of Ghost in the Shell 2's story take this ancient religious concept and couch it in
the Book of the Dead, when they talk about Osiris and whatnot, it's the same principle too. Osiris lives in all you and blah 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 blah, and then something like every one of our souls wants to be reach back to Osiris, almost like that neon. What's it? God dang it, that one with the freaking robots, and they kind of have the whole atom bit, and they all want to be one conscious. It's like it's pretty crazy.
In a secular,
I can't even pronounce it. Neon
scenario,
Evangelus.
one that could very well happen if and when consciousness becomes digitized. In other words, the Buddhist concept of nirvana could theoretically become real, at least in a digital sense. We would leave the imperfect reality as perceived through our mortal bodies, and we would do that by separating our mind from our body. And to drive Kim's point home, he demonstrates just how easily our perception of reality is corrupted, not just to Bato and Togusa, but to the audience. At this point in the film, the scene of Bato and Togusa entering the mansion and confronting Kim begins to loop. The same thing happens 3 times with only minor details changing. At first, the 2 protagonists, as well as the audience, get the sense that something is off, but they don't quite know what it is. Things become especially odd when the marionette turns into a marionette of Togusa, and the supposedly real Togusa has its insides revealed to be cybernetic. For the few minutes that this happens, the characters and the audience get a hint that what they are perceiving isn't real. But in those few minutes, they are unable to determine what, if anything, is real. Though it is eventually revealed that Kim was hacking into the minds of Bato and Togusa and was causing this loop in reality to happen, we are left with an important question. At what point did reality stop and Kim's hacking begin? If we were in Bato or Togusa's shoes, would we be able to know? Most likely, we would forever lose our grip on reality and become the dolls, the playthings, of somebody or something like Kim. Thankfully for us, the audience, we were only at the mercy of the film's director, Mamoru Oshii, for a few minutes. But even then, the impact of this scene is permanent for those who truly understand it. If human beings, to quote Kim, can be quantified and reduced to simple mechanisms,
almost like that movie Inception,
and materials, what makes us so different from dolls? What prevents us from being played with by forces greater than ourselves? To an extent, we already are the playthings of our emotions, as I stated before when talking about revenge. Who's to say that one day, when brains can become digitally augmented, that we couldn't become full automatons? That our perceptions of reality could be permanently corrupted? That we could forever lose our sense of self and become nothing less than a doll? If we assume that human beings are quantifiable, then theoretically, human beings are dolls to a certain extent and can have their sense of self obliterated. The fact that Ghost in the Shell 2 made not only a convincing case in this regard, but also demonstrated how easily our perception of reality can be toyed with, truly makes this the most profound moment in the history of animation. While I believe the first Ghost in the Shell film on the whole is better and more important to the medium, I don't believe any moment from that film measures up to the level of deep philosophical insight presented by Bato and Togusa's interaction with Kim. This could easily become our future, and thankfully we have this film to prepare us. We can decide whether or not to augment our brains. We can possibly install software to prevent this sort of hacking from happening. Having said that, though, we are all going to have to make that step towards the next stage of human evolution sooner or later. The only thing we need to decide, however, is which route to take. Do we become like gods, where we perfectly augment our bodies and minds with technology? Or do we become like dolls, where we separate our mind from our body and forever become one with the digital matrix? Let me know what you would choose in the comments section below. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. When you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that not only this video, but all the other videos on my channel are worth watching. It will then share my videos around in people's recommended feeds. Also, if you want to—
Wow. So that was pretty deep. That was the way he tied that into psychology and into anime and games. And, you know, it is about perception and how we view things. Because, you know, we see ourselves as, you know, we got the face, but we're literally, this is us. You know, we're a walking brain, and this is us. The rest is just whatever. That's the human. It's a human being. Lay it out on the table. That's what your nervous system looks like. And it's not like you look yourself in the mirror and this is what you see, right? But that's us. I think the movie, that new movie RoboCop, did a pretty cool job of that. If y'all saw that new movie. Let me see here. I like looking at these type of videos and always challenging myself to critical thinking. You don't want to be the same person you were 10 years ago. No one's perfect, right? You want to evolve, learn. Evolve your vocabulary. When you evolve your vocabulary, you're learning new definitions, new meanings, new concepts on life, respect for life, respect for people. And when you're older, you end up inherently usually being someone's mentor or teacher. You don't want people to learn your old bad habits. Let's see here. I think one of my favorite animes currently right now will be Attack on Titan. That's a good one. Sadly, I can't talk on it too much because it'll be a big spoiler. But best way I could say it is if you want to even have a concept of Attack on Titan, learn the Norse mythology. And that's all I would say on that one. If you learn Norse mythology, you'll pretty much have Attack on Titan pretty much hammered out. I got a message. Let's see here. Yep, that's the video. I think it was a good video. I think people can change, but not always for the better. And the only way people can, I think, change for the better is if they're held accountable via society. Does society always get things right? No. But I tend to believe that mostly what, you know, at least in this nation, what we got going on is mostly decent. You know, I don't wake up every day getting shot at least not where I live. I think I like to go with the Kants, who, you know, how you have a choice. They'll do like this psychology study where you have a choice of pulling the lever, not pulling the lever. And there's a train coming with like 3 kids or maybe 6 people on the other side. And would you pull the lever? Would you not pull the lever? And there's pretty much multiple choices, right? You could pull the lever to kill the people on the right. You could just not touch it, you know. And then there's different reasons for why you did or you didn't touch it. And this guy's reasoning is more on a situation like, say, I find a wallet on the ground it's not necessarily wrong for me to just leave the wallet there. So I know that the person who lost it can retrace their steps. And it's not necessarily wrong for me to pick up the wallet either and put it on top of their car door. It goes with the sense of what would you do versus, obviously the bad choice would be to take the wallet and steal it. You know what? Yeah. They won't get involved, but you gotta also understand, growing up, I was taught mind your business, right? Because a lot of the times that's what gets you killed. You see a couple fighting, guys beating up the girl, would be the heroic thing to do in the movie, right? You go, you step in and you save the girl. Reality is you're getting your ass kicked by the girl because now she's the guy's lover, and she's like, what are you doing? And she jumps in and stabs you in the back, right? So minding your business is sometimes a life-saving aspect, but you're absolutely right. Most today's society, they won't get involved. But the good news in that is, at least when I was starting go in my retirement, the new training, and at least in the federal side, was being involved. It's called STEM, bystander training. It dealt with more sexual assault stuff like that, but the whole point is, a lot of these times with these assaults or these actions, the people are there and they do nothing. For many reasons how we ended up that way. It took years, but we are now numb and indifferent. Yeah. And I think that's the key to a lot of this, is that sometimes I think it's okay because it's how we deal with these traumas. I mean, if you saw horrific stuff every day, sadly, sometimes the best way to deal with it is dark humor, and step in and get sued. Yeah, exactly. Some guy comes in your house and they're taking your TV. See, as prior law enforcement, I know that sadly it's just property, so I should just let the guy take it. That's why you have insurance and stuff like that, unless I can articulate, I fear for my life and da da da. But the person come to your house, you beat the snot out of them, and then they go, well, at that moment, he was running away from you and he didn't have a weapon and you did this, even though he should have never been in your house, and you pursued him. Now you went too far. Now you're getting sued, right? It's crazy. Exactly, man. I was in New York, and there was like a dollar bill on the floor. And I went to go pick it up, and my cousin, man, he laid into me. Actually, he is the cousin that laid into me. Let's see, NCC, is it North Carolina Central? What do you call it? Football. This is the cousin that laid me out for trying to pick up my the dollar on the floor. Let's see here. Present, share screen. We were in New York. He's the head college coach for Central. And, man, just like an older brother, dad there, man, laid me out. I was like, you better not pick that up. I was like, dude, it's freaking $1, right? But I kicked it over anyways after he laid me out, and it was a fake dollar. And the reason is, obviously, is because it could have been laced with anything or needle and this and this and that. And like you said, curiosity killed the cat, mind your business. But people will throw around these trash or these envelopes that look real and they're not. And that's how they get you. Has anybody ever left their? I think, and also another key point on learning is that a lot of people you talk to that are ignorant, they never left their back door. You know, how many people do you know have left their town other than to go to a Comic-Con? You know, like how many actually ventured other places, other cities, other countries, other nations, lived there for several years. Right? And to learn other stuff like right here, like I was talking to Big Reese, and I had said a term to him. He's like, "Well, don't, that term here is, really, really bad." And I was like, "Oh shit, really?" And it had a whole different meaning. In the 1920s, it had one meaning for us here in the States, and for him, it was a whole different meaning. And I could say it wherever, but now knowing, you got to know your audience, right? Like we are now connected over the internet. Words that we would say or things that we would do that are everyday affairs are now different to other folks because now we're connected, right? Connected over the internet. It's not before this internet. How the hell would I be talking to someone from Australia without spending $100 every minute on a card? So I remember when I was in Iraq, it was $100 will get you 1 hour of talk for the AT&T cards, and they had pay phones. You take your AT&T card for $100 and you get an hour of talk time. That's it. Let's see here. I just find it interesting that in this space, it seems like you can just tell a person's mindset by just looking at them and how they're going to be. It's like the same demographic. And you just look at them, you go, oh shit, these guys are trouble. They're going to be trouble. They are trouble. And it's tough to get away. And the best way to get away is block every single one. See, I think studies have shown that the vast majority of people, even in free countries, never venture too far from where they grow up. Like just hours in each direction. Exactly. Yeah. I was watching one of those conspiracy theorist documentaries, and it was called Collapse. It was pretty cool. I think the guy was pretty grounded. And the reason he became popular is because when I found out about him when I was a kid and I was eating dinner at a dinner table with my parents, and there was a town hall meeting going on television. And this was in the height of the crack epidemic. And guy came up on that. They found out, they being society in general, the news media, the people on the streets, found out that the CIA was peddling drugs into the country to help with their war in South America and whatnot. And they were using that commission that they were earning on the streets for the drugs to pay for their funding to go cause trouble in South America. And they had the head of the CIA at the place. And this guy stood up and it caused the largest uproar. And he's like, I've worked for the Los Angeles Police Department for 15 years. And without a doubt, I can tell you that, yes, the CIA has been doing this. And I got the documents here. And he's like, how can I turn this in? I'm here right now with the paperwork to give you the evidence. And the guy gave the biggest excuse, saying, oh, well, we've been trying to look for you, but we lost your name. It was crazy. Let me see here. CIA drugs. And it was a town hall meeting. And I just remember it was so shocking. Hey, there it is. See, that was in 1998. The drug trafficking allegations. It was called it's called Collapse here. Collapse documentary. There we go. Michael Rupert. Let me type that in. Pull it up. Michael Rupert, CIA. And you know what's crazy is every time I try to find it, it seems like it goes away. But here I found it. I found one. So this guy ended up being a pretty grounded conspiracy theorist. He was like, I don't deal with conspiracy theories. I deal with conspiracies. I'm like, that's a pretty good play on words because theories are just that, right? But conspiracies can and are real. Example, the shooting of JFK. That was a conspiracy. That was real. 9/11, conspiracy. It was real. 9/11 being an inside job, theory. I have worked all over my country, and I learned so much how lucky I am to grow up where I have. My mind was blown when I visited the third world or developing countries. Correct. Yeah. So now, before I had left, you're not allowed to call them. We don't call them third world no more. We call them developing. Just like you said, be easier on the words. Does anyone remember CompuServe? Oh yeah, like pre-AOL, it was billed by the minute for basically just So I remember I gave my parents an $800 phone bill because I was using Prodigy and I was having it dial long distance. I guess I didn't have a clue, but my mom was able to cover it.
I am a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, and I work South Central Los Angeles. And I will tell you, Director Deutsch, emphatically and
Can
without
you speak
equivocation.
further into the mic, sir? These mics don't seem to be.
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
I remember I was at the dinner table this as a kid. I was like, what?
All right.
So here, the CIA, that's the CIA chief.
For a lot of you now, can you please?
I refer.
All right, now, can you please?
I refer direct.
Wait a minute.
And then after this, I'll go full circle back to the conspiracy thing I was talking about, where it tied back into the anime, all the crap.
Here, please leave now. No, leave. No, leave now, because there are others who do want to hear what's going on in this room. Will you please take your seats? I will come back to you as we roll back across to the center section.
Yeah.
Director Deutsch, I will refer you to.
I had a CompuServe computer and it ran Prodigy.
Pegasus and
30 megabyte hard drive.
Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me in the late 70s to become involved in protecting agency drug operations in this country. I have been trying to get this out for 18 years, and I have the evidence. My question for you is very specific, sir. If in the course of the IG's investigations and Fred Hitz's work, you come across evidence of severely criminal activity,
let him speak
and it's classified, will you use that classification to hide the
I know
criminal
what you
activity?
mean. Prodigy. That was a good service. I mean, looking back on it, it seems like it's like an untrue movie.
All right, you want to hear the response first from Congressman Julian Dixon and then from the director.
It's like a Jerry Springer show. This is real.
Wait a minute. From your, I'm sorry, sir. I will allow the director to speak first and then Congressman Julian Dixon.
If you have information about CIA illegal activity in drugs, you should immediately bring that information to wherever you want, but let me suggest 3 places. The Los Angeles Police Department.
And he just mentioned that he was a former investigator and a whistleblower.
Please.
Oh man, I saw some powerful people in there. I saw Nation of Islam in there.
I'm sorry. Others want to hear this answer. I am sorry. Others want to hear this answer.
It is
Yeah,
your
bro.
choice.
It gets
Los
deeper.
Angeles Police Department, the Inspector General, or office of one of your Congress persons from this.
I did that 18 years ago, sir, and I got shot at for it.
Wait a minute, sir.
So the guy that's speaking said that he tried to do everything that he instructed him to do, but he's been shot at for it. That his own people tried to kill him.
Wait a minute, sir.
I think he's in hiding in Canada now or some crazy crap.
Yet you are not. But wait a minute, then don't speak out of turn.
Let me say something else. If
Yeah, just at the right time, right? Right? Yeah. Hey, C-SPAN was it, man. I respect C-SPAN because they show everything raw.
We will bring the people to justice and make them accountable.
All right, Congressman Dixon.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
But look at the people in the crowd that are tired of it, that don't want the drugs. You know, they don't want the violence. You know, these are folks that are tired of this epidemic.
Wait a minute here. I thought you did not want to be here, but now that you are here, please let us hear and listen. Thank you very much.
Sir, I want to thank you for coming. You were at the
Listen to this guy's excuse.
The staff probably had the spelling of your name wrong, but
His excuse for not responding to this guy that claims he has evidence as a former employee of these allegations is that his staff probably got his spelling wrong.
we would like to talk to you. We have been looking for a couple of days for you, and we want to. We want to make sure that you contact the committee because obviously you have some valuable information. If you want to give it to me privately, if you want to hand it to that aide where I can contact you this evening, please do it. Don't let us get away without getting a contact from you.
Don't let us get away. Well, do your job. Go over there and grab it.
I'm doing now, so everyone can see that I got it. That would be fine.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. And for the record, Mike.
I'm gonna screenshot this. Click. That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for that. I can't wait to use that one.
Please keep the noise down so that we can hear and we can get answers.
For the record, my name is Mike Ruppert, Ruppert. I did bring this information out 18 years ago, and I got shot at and forced out of LAPD because of it. I've been on the record for 18 years nonstop, and I'll be happy to give you, Congressman, anything that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ruppert.
So this guy is, I guess you call him what you want. He's a conspiracy guy. Did I see the documents, all that stuff? No, but just knowing the history of what happened and stuff, these are actual facts. You can go on FBI.gov, look at the open history of this stuff. It's all there. All their documents that are unclassified are there now. And but coming back to this guy and going back full circle, because we were talking about the minds and conspiracies and this and this and that. Hold on, let me pull this up. There's an official trailer out for his older video. It's called it says 14 years ago on this one, but it was called Collapse. And I thought it was what I do enjoy about conspiracy videos is that when they're grounded in some basis. Granted, it's all biased, right? You can go left with it, you can go right with it. Very few go down the middle, but I do enjoy ones that you can go, this could be plausible, right? And I think it's pretty plausible, just understanding how things work. Let me see, it presents. Share this tab. This is the trailer to give you an idea.
We are all collectively responsible for what may be the greatest preventable Holocaust in the history of planet Earth. I have 30 years of experience as an investigative journalist. I've broken major scandals, going out to try and map how the world really worked as opposed
Yeah,
to
me too, man.
cold it worked. Our map has proven deadly accurate. My economic predictions, we had it so right. In 2006, we said, get out of debt right now. Check your mortgage carefully. We issued a whole series of warnings. It will be nothing like we have ever seen before. Everything that we said was going to happen is taking place right now. Gold prices, Pakistan, Afghanistan, the stock market. It's not that Bernie Madoff was a pyramid scheme. The whole economy is a pyramid scheme. Of course, I've been called a conspiracy theorist, but I don't deal in conspiracy theory. I deal in conspiracy fact.
That's heavy. I like how he flipped that. I don't deal with conspiracy theories. I deal with conspiracy facts. That's a good term.
The mortal blow to human industrialized civilization will happen when oil prices spike and nobody can afford to buy that oil, and everything will just shut down. Unlike the Great Depression, we do not have infinite resources. Nothing grows forever. There is a cycle: birth, growth, maturation, decline, and death. Cars don't run. The mail stops getting delivered. Planes don't fly. Law enforcement stops working. This is all part of the collapse. If you're in a camp and a bear attacks, you don't have to be faster than the bear. You only have to be faster than the slowest camper. The challenge being faced by the human race now is either evolve or perish, grow up or die. You have to believe.
This is where what the hell? There's something on my screen. I think I spit on the screen. This is where I thought was pretty funny. Did y'all see that? I think they got played. Look at this.
Believe,
Let's
not
see here.
hope, not pray that there's a way. Believe, not
Like I
hope,
wanted to
not
take
pray that grow
it
up or die.
serious. Y'all see this shit? You'll leave the theaters. Is that a real review? Reason I'm laughing, if you don't know, The Onion is probably one of the greatest satirical, fictional commentary publications out there. I mean, there's South Park on another level. Actual news medias would take what they put out as gospel when they blatantly say we're full of shit, like we're just a satirical site. But they do such good satire. Congress folks and media folks run with it, and I don't know if they know this or not.
You have to believe, not hope, not pray that there's a way out of it, and you're going to find it.
Yeah, so going back with this guy, reason why I brought that up is because Reese had brought up the fact that a lot of people, Phil brought up the fact that a lot of people don't even leave their area. And he was talking about the whole collapse bit and, what's the best place to be. That's where you are now. If you're living in a good home area and your neighbors and your country you're in is going to go to shit, like where you're at now is the safest place because you're familiar with the people around you. That's the safest stuff, your neighbors, being good friends with your neighbors and whatnot like that, because otherwise you're all on your own. And when I had looked up this guy, I think back during it was in 2004 when I was on that conspiracy train crap way back. It was Behold the Pale Horse. You know what I'm talking about? And I got told about it because see, I've done customs for like a decade and I never been told it was restricted. But I had friends that did TSA and they said that sometimes they take the book. What's it? No, it was for another one. Oh man, they taught you how to like smoke a banana and crazy crap. But if you ever seen Behold the Pale Horse, it's a crap pot like conspiracy thing, and they would show sign of the pale horse. See, on this one, it's called Behold a Pale Horse. Let me look up your sign of the pale horse. Sign of the pale horse. Yeah, let me I'm gonna pull this up. Behold the pale horse. Amazon. Share this tab. No, don't share this tab. I can't share that tab. It's by Milton William Cooper. I'll just pull up the wiki. There we go. Share this tab. Here we go. Yeah. So Wilton Cooper, conspiracy theorist. And what's crazy is that he had a lot of claims that he served in the United States Navy, Air Force, and it was discharged in 1975 as an intelligence officer. It was outlandish, but at the same time, it was kind of grounded because it made sense. He was talking about like FEMA and how like FEMA is nothing but a de facto government agency. So when shit hits the fan, it's FEMA that's going to take over and blah, 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 blah. But it's kind of true because that's what FEMA's for, is if like, say, I'm going to exaggerate, a nuclear event happens. It's FEMA's job to rein in the chaos. You got displaced people, well, you put them in camps, shit like that. And that's where it got crazy. It was, he was speaking on the UFOs, and then he had like the designs of the UFOs in his stuff. And he had this whole drawing, like you can open up this whole constitution thing that he had the whole thing like written out about how they were going to take over. It was like the actual like declaration. It went all deep dive. But what was crazier is not necessarily what he talked about. What's crazier is how these people end up dying. And he became convinced that he was being personally targeted by Bill Clinton in the IRS. He was charged with tax evasion. He had an arrest warrant and he eluded it. But then he became an actual fugitive by the marshals. While he was in Arizona, they tried to arrest him, right? And they had a fucking shootout. And he was killed by the federal agency. So this guy became a living martyr for saying, they're after me. And literally the man was after them. And, so if he had any allies in this space, makes you, go, was the man really after him? But he had some pretty crazy stuff. And what was this guy's name? He was a wrestler, and he was in that movie, The Predator, and he ended up being the governor. And he ended up having a show where he would go around on these conspiracy bits. Let me see here. Predator, actor, wrestler. And he was a former Navy guy. Jesse Ventura. I'm gonna pull this one up. Now, Jesse did a visit to one of these so-called FEMA thingies, and it was real. I can tell you that because I know how they are built because I built them before. I built prison camps from the ground up, and he was actually right about how it works. FEMA Camp Ventura. And let me see if I can find it. Skip ad. Let's see here. Share screen. Share. Will it work? I think this is it. Let's see.
Became a mayor and then governor of Minnesota. Today, he spends half his year in Mexico and half here in Minnesota's Lake Country, but his views are anything but retiring. He says that the United States today is on the brink of fascism. He questions the official story of 9/11. And later in the show, he will tell us what Fidel Castro told him about the assassination of John F. Kennedy. He is, of course, Jesse Ventura, and he's my guest on this special edition of Inside USA.
Yeah, so yeah, Jesse the Body, man. What I enjoyed about him was he wasn't afraid to dive into these stuff. And I mean, for me, he's pretty respected. I mean, the guy served, you know, he's U.S. Navy SEALs, became representative of a government body. And he was going in on about the FEMA camps. Like, he visited one of the camps, and because he was talking about how they were just building them for the hurricanes, but there was nothing to it. And they had the guard towers. So imagine the square, and around the guard towers, the towers were facing in. And he's like, well, what's this about? So he visited them, and they're like, well, it's to, you know, protect the people in it. And he's like, but that's not, like, if you're protecting the people in it, wouldn't the towers be facing out, not in? Sadly, the setup of the way the camp was is exactly how the internment facilities were where I was. And I'm like, yeah, those are guard towers to keep people locked in. And they actually had a couple of like migrants in the camp. What's up, brother? I'm just ranting. In the camps, and I thought that was pretty startling. Let me see if I can find it. FEMA Camps Ventura. This is back in 2019. Oh, here we go. I found it. Pull you up. Go to Daily Motion. Share this tab.
Inspiration, a dash of imagination, and you get a snack so packed with juice and real fruit, it had to be named. Well,
and see. No, another. This shit kills me.
Risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus at direction.com. Read carefully.
He wasn't wrong about going back. He wasn't wrong about the camp as far as it having residents in it and the guard towers being pointed in. Because if you're a migrant and you're not legally in the country, they'll hold families there, and then you stay. You're not leaving until your legal situation gets sorted. But the massive design for the camps are for when, if exaggerate, it would be dumb to think that a nation doesn't have a contingency plan if things got irate. You know, that's just stupid. If you were running the country and you don't have a contingency plan, you're dumb. So I think sometimes they take these conspiracies that are facts and they turn them into theories, and they go a little off the rails sometimes. But like I said, I do like a good grounded conspiracy. I think that's true. There they are, those plastic coffins. My buddy filmed them. What was his viewpoint? I mean, if let's just say the Black Plague hit, would it not be smart to have something already done to where instead of burying them in backyards, because in New York, man, they were piling these bodies up left and right, and they had nothing for these bodies when COVID was hitting. They were just getting dumped by the busloads from what I was reading. Yeah, see, yeah. I think it's smart to have these type of things already ready to go because shit does happen. So they can pull them out of the, the stockpile and use them. Because we know what happens with dead bodies that can't be buried and whatnot. I mean, you shouldn't even be burying them. You should be burning them, honestly. But yeah. But how does this all go back to gaming? Well, once again, what happened was I came on, I had some deep thoughts about changing and changing for the better. And a friend of mine says, well, just because you change, does that always mean it's for the better? Sometimes it could be for the worst. And that's where I had pulled up the video about tying it into gaming and anime. Called The Most Profound Moment in the History of Animated Film. And what we were just talking about played out, where Jesse Ventura, who's a conspiracist, had challenged the Maxim. I mean, this is off the cuff, like real time. We saw it on the air. He challenged the maxim of I think, therefore I am, with think, therefore am, because he removed the ego when the guys mentioned about the people or the idea. He's like, well, can't I, this be the people? And when he countered, the guy agreed. So I find that these type of social norms or people's concepts can bleed over on other folks. That it's all connected, regardless of what hobby you're in, from gaming to anime. These people who make these cartoons and these games are deep thinkers too. And when you play, you're literally playing through their story. I think another good movie was and franchise. I think one of the better franchise out there was that M. Night Shyamalan one with the comics. Was it Glass? Unbreakable. I thought that all played out pretty well, how they end up being a shared universe. And how these comic book stories, of course it's a movie, played out being real for people, and it was a way to get out their story. Yeah, explain. I think COVID, see, is it the government trying to scare you? Is it the media just fringing on reporting, are the people being the ones that are purposely trying to be scared by, something that's not to be scared of? And then people are just going on the fringe blaming other folks, because that's the shit, right? Like, right here, right now, right? People may click on this and view it, right? Knowing what they claim I'm about. Well, if you know what I'm about, why are you watching, right? And so am I the one fringing and scaring you, or are you doing it to yourself? It's like I got a young son, right? We're watching Attack on Titans or some horror movie, and he purposely will come in to look or listen. He's like, you're already scared. And I tell my wife, I'm like, no, don't turn that crap off. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's coming in here purposely trying to look. Let him have a nightmare when he grows, when he goes to bed, because he's doing it to himself. Yeah. I love the ending to Unbreakable when he reveals himself at the end. It was pretty powerful. And they call me Mr. Glass. That was deep. Some ministers are talking about mask mandates coming back. That one was I understand people's viewpoint that nothing should be forced, but then at the same time, I think that sometimes normalcy of the should be mandated when it's for the betterment to a degree. If I cover my mouth from a cough, like y'all saw the spit come on the camera, right? If I was wearing a mask, spit wouldn't have hit that camera. My spit wouldn't have hit your face. You know, you got a little nasty little shit kids that they bring to school and they're all coughing like, you know, some cat regurgitating, and they don't cover their mouths. You know, just want to duct tape their mouths up so they don't spread their coat. Yeah. But yeah, I think that got way overdone because it should have never been a thing. I think the only reason it got fringe was because it made the other person, because political folks were trying to make other political people look bad because a bad thing was happening that neither side of the political spectrum could control. And then they politicized it. Since when the fucking flu or respiratory disease should be politicized, I don't know. That's crazy to me. You know, I have a whole laundry list of shots that I was mandated to get and take. Never was an issue to me. Now I'm some fucking crackpot conscious objector to getting a shot after I got anthrax up in my body and now I can't get a fucking flu shot. Nah, man. But yeah, there is a fine line about mandates. Anybody else got their favorite anime? The Wuhan lab still going. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting because the conspiracy theory was this was a lab leak. And even I was like, yeah, probably not, right? I probably most likely believe the scientists that are saying that it was, you know, in the market. Now there's facts coming out saying that it was probably most likely a lab leak. But what ends up happening is sometimes fringe conspiracies end up being true. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were speaking from truth at the beginning. You know what I mean? It's kind of like clock is right twice a day. Broken clock is right twice a day, you know? Oh, dude. I got a permanent rotary issue because some bitch stabbed me up here. Now I got some of my records. My arm will never be the same again because of the fucking vaccine. And it makes you not want to get one. AD Police? That's an anime? Let's see, AD Police. I have never seen this. YouTube. Share. The man who bites his tongue.
Are practically all that move his body.
Well, I'm gonna have to check this. Oh. The hell? You put me on something new. Oh yeah, you're going old school. Apparently, Macross, from what I heard, started off as a parody to Gundam and it was supposed to be more like a satire joke, and then they end up making it serious. Oh yeah, man. Question everything. Star Blazers, classic. Bubblegum Crisis, the 30 pair. Oh yeah. Hellsing. Man, I just finished that one up not that long ago. Great. Yeah, I'm gonna check it all out. And you put me on this. I'm gonna start it from the beginning later. Thank you for putting me on this. This is I like seeing new shit. I love the old VHS era Funimation dubs. Like what's it? Escaflowne. Y'all remember that? Escaflowne was a hit to me. Did that whole like isekai. Let's see, the hell? Intro. There's a Fox opening? What the hell is that? Fox Kids had Escaflowne? I've never heard of AD Police all this life. The hell is this? This is shit. I'll remember it like that. That's weird. That's dookie. That's like what they did with Ronin Warriors. Yeah, there's a fine line with that CGI, Carl. But I think it's Studio Mappa or whatever, the one that does Attack on Titan. I think they're doing a real good job with the CGI mixed in with the drawings, especially the people who do what is that anime called? Demon Sword? The new one out? You know what I'm talking about? Demon Slayer. That was some of the best fights. Let me put that up and get my copyright struck for the day. Share, present, share screen. All right, here we go. Copyright strike. You know what happens when I go off the air? I mean, this was like theater worthy. Played out a lot smoother on TV. I think this one does a perfect fusion of CGI and drawn. And of course, they're doing time skips so they don't get flagged, even though I will. Now, this cat right here is one of the hardest in anime. A lot of time skips, but Shit went hard. But yeah, I pretty much drawn out on what to talk about. Like I said, I was going back to my roots. I was talking to a friend, brought up a good point about change and how people could change, but is it always for the better? And we deep dived into Star Wars, Anakin, and I had saw that video that I showed earlier in the day, and then this, like as you saw, with the where we were diving into philosophy on these movies, the games, the culture, how it even played out with other people's way of thinking, to conspiracy folks, to fringe folks, to normal people, to everyday people, to life in general, society. It's all one big cohesive unit. You know, these games tell a story. It's why we enjoy this nostalgia, these memories. They put us in the fantasy world. Don't mean to project, but that's how I feel. And hopefully you guys feel the same way, in a positive way. And I enjoy my early stuff. Somebody's, like my man said, you know, it's 3 a.m. in the morning where he's at. I'm not here for prime time. I'm here for my own being, and hopefully those that, you know, watch will enjoy the journey with me. Because if we don't do what makes us happy, then why do it, right? I'm not here for anything else. And I do agree with you still, Carl, on drawings. Studio Ghibli, you know, hand drawn is amazing. And with that, I am signing off. You guys have a great day, and I appreciate you.